Time is brought to you by the Gateway Film Center, 1550 North High Street, Columbus, Ohio. Further details and showtimes online at gatewayfilmcenter.org.
The award-winning It's Movie Time is produced by John DeSando. Listen to the shows and read reviews online at WCBE.org.
I'm John DeSando.
I'm Wayne Miller.
And this is It's Movie Time.
Yep, it sure is.
Wayne, you and I saw the Bridge of Sighs in Venice last week. Now, I know I'm stretching because there is a real Bridge of Sighs. And so I'm stretching to make the correlation. But something about criminals walking across between the Doges and the prison strikes me. In the new movie,
Bridge of Spies.
Bridge of Spies by Steven Spielberg.
Yes.
Is this just another Tinker title or old-fashioned spy movie?
It was so low-key. I enjoyed it. I got a lot out of it. Like you, we lived through this period,
yes.
And the Cold War and the fear of it being bombed. And I thought one of the things I found very interesting, and I guess it took it right from Spielberg's life, because recently in Entertainment Weekly, they interviewed Spielberg, and he talked about filling bathtubs and sinks with water,
right.
So in case they're bombed and they can't get out. But also he talks about, and I remember seeing in school little films about duck and cover. We all now you look back on and think, well, that's not going to do much good.
Well, that was one of the nice directorial bits I thought in the film, where he had that juxtaposition of the images, the audience in the courtroom standing up, then the children with the Pledge of Allegiance,
yes,
and then the clip you're talking about, or what to do when disaster hits, and all three of those together made a point, heavy-handed, but it made a point, and so this basically, Spielberg is doing what he frequently does. He likes to take a hero against the odds, good guy.
This is the fourth film that he's done with Tom Hanks. And
is
Tom
that
Hanks,
right, four?
Yes, yeah, and Hanks does, as usual, an excellent job. He embodies American decency and wanting to play by the rules and to be fair.
Yeah.
And also, I think that the fellow playing the Russian spy did an excellent job.
Mark Rylance. Look see this movie for Mark Rylance's performance as Rudolph Abel, the Soviet spy, whom Hanks is enjoined to defend.
Yes.
And there's no defense. He's clearly a spy. And
he admits to it.
Yes.
And the thing of it is, you get kind of a taste for the American judicial system, when they say, hey, obviously the judge in this case was very biased, and early on said, well, okay, we got to go through the motions here. And everybody wanted Hanks to go just do the bare minimum, go through the motions, but Hanks, because of his decency and his belief in the judicial system and fair play, wanted to take it more.
Look, James B. Donovan is the character, the real-life character, the real-life attorney who was asked to defend Abel. And what I loved was the argument that Hanks put forward, or Donovan puts forward, that this guy was doing his job. This guy was a Russian patriot.
Yes, and almost a soldier. So with the Geneva Convention, do we treat the soldiers, like what? No, spies are different, because of the whole, subterfuge underlying, what they do. But I thought, and Hanks, of course, he's in a role, and he kind of reminded me, somewhat of Gregory Peck in To Kill a Mockingbird.
Okay.
Another attorney of decency.
Right.
Also, and I think Hanks is our latter-day mixture of decent people like Gregory Peck.
Jimmy Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart, definitely. Right. Henry Fonda.
Right.
People who will stand for principle. And I was thinking of Jimmy Stewart as an attorney in Anatomy of a Murder.
Sure.
And somebody really that had this decency and this idea of fair play.
Mr. Deeds.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that one was with Gary Cooper. Yeah, type of thing.
Okay. Yeah.
But
which is the one, Mr. Smith then?
Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. But the same character. I mean, almost a cardboard type hero.
But Hanks can pull this off in his sleep.
I know he does.
And he
He's
does
so
a
good.
good job. And he does a good job with the scenes with the family. You know, what's funny, and sometimes, and I really like Spielberg as a director, but sometimes, you know, he can be a little overboard with some of the sentimentality. Here, I kind of thought he downplayed it. There could have been more maybe with the kids or the wife, and it's so funny, the one actor who really kind of surprised me, I'm thinking, wow, we're all getting old, and that's Alan Alda.
Yeah, I know.
As the senior partner of the law,
right, of the law
firm. And I'm thinking, wow, he looks old.
But you know, I really wanted to see more of him. I thought
Yeah.
they shortchanged him.
Yes, because he's another person, because of the TV show MASH, that's really embodied, you know, kind of American decency too. But here, how he kind of shut down Hanks, you know, because of how Hanks was kind of going a little overboard, what some people thought, in the defense of Abel, or at least making sure that Abel got a fair trial.
You know, Spielberg, I think, did something similar in Lincoln, creating that kind of black and white world. Even though it might be color, it still looks dark, dingy.
Well, there's certain scenes there in East Berlin that reminded me of Spielberg's List, not Spielberg's List, Schindler's List.
Yes.
And just that kind of that oppressive gray. And what's interesting, in this recent Entertainment Weekly article I was telling you about, just came out recently, that and Spielberg talks about his dad had gone over, and he didn't say why his dad was over there, but his dad was around looking at some of the U-2 wreckage of the U-2 plane, and talked about being as he's standing there, and all of a sudden all these Russians rushed him, you know, wanted his papers, and started yelling at him like, look what America's doing to us, and playing the victim. Almost now, you know, you look at it, you know, 50 some years later, and now with Putin and what's going on over there in Russia, you know, that building up that nationalism, that Russian nationalism, by playing kind of the martyr and saying, look what people are doing. You know, we're just trying to defend our Mother Russia, defend ourselves.
And it reminded me, this is not this is not just a simple story of Donovan defending Abel. It's also a story about the exchange of Gary Powers.
Right.
And then an American student thrown in.
Yes.
And Donovan brilliantly thinking that he can pull off the exchange of 2 for 1, which is not in favor of the Russians, because it looks like we got the better deal.
We got a little bit of foretelling early in the movie when he was talking to an opposing counsel, you know, because he's an insurance attorney. And he's saying, you know, the person saying, well, you know, 5 of these people were injured. He says, yeah, 5 people, but it was just one incident. So here, you can kind of tell later on he's going to use that same type of argument. Just, you know, one person, one incident type of thing. Let's get both guys back.
And I thought the other thing that Spielberg did very well is, even though Amy Ryan, like Alan Alda, gets short shrift, you know, she's a good actress and there could have been more. But when I think about it, too frequently these films cut back to the family, and I get the whole, you know, honey, why you going, da-da-da, all that stuff. And I'm just tired of it. So they don't, you know, she lets him go. He's going to do what he has to do. And there isn't like, oh, I'm so afraid you won't go, whatever stuff there be. So when he cuts back to the family, I think it works very well.
Kind of a subplot drama of that, or the kids. You know, I thought they would make more of the one daughter, you know, and her little romance, and said that she was stood up on a date. And of course the son, who does an excellent job, you know, in the scenes in the classroom, scenes of him filling the bathtubs, and, you know,
oh yes,
all this, and showing his dad a diagram of that their house is in the blast area. New York is wiped out with an atomic bomb. You know, that they live in Brooklyn and they'll be wiped out.
Well, if you're like me, you're buoyed up a bit by this, even this American chauvinism in this kind of film when it's done with class by Steven Spielberg. And the one quote that James B. Donovan has there, which I like very much, is, "Everyone deserves defense. Everyone matters." You know, and this is really putting it together in what is the importance of this film, is to show that it's really true. Everyone does matter. So when we have even incidents of mass murder, You know, we wonder, why does our justice system take so long? It's because of this, because it really attempts to be fair.
Yes.
And Spielberg caught it beautifully.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, too, with, like you said, that he doesn't go overboard with some of the scenes.
No.
And I thought he could have made even more of the young American student.
Yeah.
As well as Powers, and how Donovan was kind of shunned by people because of his defense of the Russian spy.
Yes, yes.
How you get the sense of how Powers was going to be shunned because he didn't commit suicide.
Right.
Or go down with the plane.
Well, that's the point that Spielberg never explores,
Yes.
is his reason for not taking the poison,
Yes.
which they
yes.
were ordered to do should the plane go down.
Right. Yeah. And if he didn't go down with the plane, he tried to go down with the plane,
right.
but was ejected while it was
Yeah,
going
so it was
down.
his obligation.
Yeah, because you didn't see in it, which surprised me. You would think that you would see him being captured by Russian
Right.
soldiers, but you don't see any of that.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, there he is in the Russian prison.
You know, Spielberg is such a good filmmaker. There are so many things to be seen here. When you think about opening with the Russian spy and a little coin,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
then you have the coin,
Coin with the little.
right? So it kind of
Hand
connects
inside, yeah.
motifs in the film,
Yeah.
subtly done, because he doesn't have to be that subtle, but he
Right.
can be without hammering it home.
Yeah.
All right, Wayne Miller, the film is Bridge of Spies,
Yes.
and what grade would you apply to this film?
Well, will it help? That was one of my
great.
favorite lines
Right.
there.
It's a
That
great-
the spy Abel. Will it
Excellent,
help?
yeah.
I'm gonna give it a B+.
All right, very good. And I'm going to give it an A-. I just romantically attached to all this, and because we saw the Bridge of Sighs in
Yes.
Venice, I said, gosh, the Bridge of Spies.
Yeah.
Anyway, here is really solid, great filmmaking, and next week I'll be talking about Truth with Robert Redford, about Dan Rather, and I think we've got two films here that are important in Americana without being heavy-handed.
Yeah, I agree.